Hey gamers, Blindy here. It is March 2024 and I recently finished playing Titanfall 2. Now, just to let you know, this is only a single player review. It does have a single player campaign. I am not going to be covering the multiplayer part of this game. So stick around and I will tell you my thoughts after we go over some of the information about the game. This game was originally released on October 28th, 2016 for the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and PC. And as of right now, from my understanding, those are the only places that you will be able to find it. This game was developed by Respawn Entertainment. You may recognize that name for other games such as Apex Legends and the Star Wars Jedi series of games. I played this game on my Steam Deck, just in original LCD version, and I got about an hour to an hour and a half per play session on my battery. The game did crash 3 times for me while I played it. Given how short this game is, that's not a stellar track record. And according to Steam, this game is playable, so not quite verified, but I had no issues with compatibility. The biggest problem you may find is that, unfortunately, it uses the EA launcher. So it's another launcher that you have to deal with when playing this game. The one good thing about being the EA launcher is that it's not the Ubisoft launcher. If you're looking to get your hands on this game through Steam, the normal price is $39.99 in Canadian dollars. But it frequently goes on sale for 85% off. So you're looking about $6 or so. Now I played it on normal difficulty, and when you install this game, keep in mind that you're looking at over 60 gigs for this game. And like I said before, this game is short, so that's a lot of storage space for a really short single player campaign. Now, if you're looking to play this multiplayer, it may make more sense for you. But it's just a lot of space for something like this. And this was my first time playing the game, so I will give you my initial impressions of it. For critical reviews, we're looking from the mid to high 80s on this game. And on Steam, we're looking at a 95% approval rating with about 182,000 reviews. So it seems to be very well received overall. And the creators seem to have wanted to create a unique first-person shooter experience, kind of stepping away from the mold that Call of Duty has established over the last decade or two at this point. Now, the development cycle for this game was only about 2 years from the original Titanfall. They were just trying to add a single-player campaign, make some improvements and things like that. And I think the 2-year development cycle was kind of their way of trying to jump on the popularity that Titanfall had already developed at that point. But from my understanding, the multiplayer never got to be as popular as they wanted it to be. They did have some difficulties, but I don't know too much about that. Like I said, this is a single player review. As for ESRB, we're looking at an M for mature. You're going to have some blood and gore. The language is not particularly great, and of course, you're going to encounter some violence. How long to beat has this game at about 6 hours for the main campaign. For me, it took about 7.5 hours, I think. There is no timer on that save file, so I can't say exactly for sure, and I did encounter 3 crashes, so I'm kind of guessing on this number. The main reason that it took me a little bit longer is I think it was just the one fight that I have that we'll talk about later. So at this point, we'll get into the gameplay itself. I will do my best not to show any spoilers. I'm going to go over the gameplay. I'm going to talk about some of the mechanics, but I will do my best not to show you anything too important. So consider that this is your warning. So the main story is that you are the character of Jack Cooper. Captain Lastimosa was showing you the ropes of the Titan when he suddenly dies and gives you control over his Titan. We call him BT. And after you take control of BT, your mission is to rendezvous with Major Anderson and to continue the assignment from there. You do some time traveling, you find that Major Anderson is dead. There's a bunch of other details that I really wasn't able to follow all that well. essentially, just do what BT tells you to do and you'll be good to go. It's a very linear story, so you can't mess it up too much. The style of this game is a first-person shooter, but in a unique spin, you get to control both your pilot, which is the main character, and your mech, so in this case, your Titan BT. Overall, it felt pretty good. It just took me a little while to get my fingers coordinated enough to be able to figure out exactly how to control and aim and all that. One of the more unique features of this game at the time was the wall running. So with a little bit of a head start, you could run up to a wall and run along it as well, and you could clear some gaps in the floors by doing that. I think one of my minor issues is that I probably should have moved the sprint button off of the left stick. I just didn't feel very comfortable having to press the left stick and then control from there. There's another cool mechanic where you're able to slide. So after taking a running start, you're able to crouch down and then slide under barriers and things like that. So kind of a neat feature, but it's just one that I never use all that often. And a lot of the time you'll be controlling just your main character, Jack Cooper, and it felt like there were a ton of weapons all over the place for his character. But then once you climbed into BT, there's certain loadouts that you can load up, and it felt like that was a good balance of the number of weapons and the different styles of weapons. So there were dozens of weapons for Jack Anderson and probably about 9 or so for BT. And I think that was just a bit much for the main character's selection. So this is one first-person shooter that you'll be waiting to heal. All you have to do is get out of combat for a few seconds, and then you'll heal back up, or your shields will come up, or however it goes. Both as your mech, as your Titan, and as your main character. And I felt that I had some issues kind of fumbling around with the buttons, and I don't know if that was just me, if there was some kind of mental hurdle, but I had some problems with doing things like when I was trying to do something in BT, I would just jump out. For some reason, I would hold the X button and I would just jump out in the middle of this big old mech fight. And that is not a wise idea. So maybe it was just me with a mental roadblock just kind of getting in my way. But that was one little issue that I had. So if you're playing on the Steam Deck, just to let you know, I found it easier to switch to using the right analog stick for aiming. I couldn't get the right trackpad to work quite right for me, so aiming wasn't working the way I wanted it to, so I just switched to the right stick and that worked fine. Now, as far as some final thoughts before I go here, I want to say that I think if you play this game, you might feel the same way. It feels like you're really flying through some of these sections. You're just quickly passing through, and I think that's a bit unfortunate. Because you see a lot of the work that the creators put in to make this game, to make these environments look the way they do and things like that. And you see them for a few seconds and then you're on to the next thing. There's no real reason for you to linger around in any given area. So I think it's kind of a missed opportunity to both show off exactly what the creators have done with these environments, as well as extending the gameplay a bit. It's only about a 6-hour game or so, and I think they could have pushed that to be a little bit longer, and I think they would have gotten something more beneficial out of it. Now, like I said, I played this on my Steam Deck, but I do believe that this game would have benefited way more if it was on a larger screen. But not only for aiming, I think just the environment and the information that you're getting from all the stuff happening on the screen probably would have benefited to be on a larger screen. So had I used my TV or my monitor on my computer, probably would have been a better experience overall. So I played this game on normal and I found that most of the game was easy. Some of the bosses were difficult, and there was one boss that was exceptionally tough, and that was Viper. He was the second to final boss, and it took me a long time to figure out exactly how to take him down. So that was just my experience, but I won't show too much of that. Some of the really cool things about this game, though, were the wall running, like I mentioned before. There's a section in the middle that involves some time travel. Once you get to that point, you'll understand what I'm talking about. That part of the game was really cool, a lot of fun. And if they decide to make a Titanfall 3, I think that element would be an awesome addition to have into that game. It's something that they could definitely develop a bit further with. And there's also a pistol from the Seer kit near the end of the game. Again, if you played the game, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I'll show just a little bit here on screen. This pistol was so much fun to play with. It'd be nice to have had it at the very beginning, but this is a video game, so of course it's not going to be that way. It was just so easy to run around and just shoot things, and I would have loved to play an entire game like that. And I'm glad that they added a campaign. I just wanted to play it more. I think that this ended up being a bit short, but despite the length, it ended up being a pretty fun experience. I just wanted more. It felt like I could have spent more time with this and enjoyed it just as much. Now, that being said, I do think that the plot's a little confusing, and I think one of the best things that they could have done is, instead of spending 2 years on this, they could have spent 3 years on this, or 4 years, and they could have made this a way better experience overall, just by giving it a little bit more time in the oven. But that being said, I think overall it looks pretty nice. There were no major stutters or slowdowns. All the sounds were fine. And overall, I think they had a really cool concept, just a decent execution. So that being all said, I think I definitely would recommend this game, especially if you like first-person shooters, something unique and interesting and different. There's just not a whole lot in the single-player campaign. Like I said before, I'm not very familiar with the multiplayer, so I can't speak for that. And if I'm looking to play something short and fun, I could see replaying this game. This experience was really good, and I don't have to dump a bunch of hours into it, and even if it was longer, I'd be okay with replaying this game. And to score this game, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 13. So that puts it around 69%. And if you're looking for just a little bit more before I go here, let's show you a bit of the final boss fight. Now just note that this boss fight isn't quite at the end of the game. There's just a little bit extra after that. So I've covered a lot, but I didn't cover everything. So let me know, was I fair? Was I wrong? Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. And before we go, I'd like to shout out all of my patrons. Just kidding, I still do not have a Patreon page, but I do have an empty Discord channel. So if you'd like to chat with me, we could talk about anything at all. Come visit. Link is on the screen, link is in the description. And before I go, I'd like to thank you for listening to me. Without you, I'm just a guy talking into a microphone. And I've never done this before, so I might as well start now. All the cool channels do it. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit that like button, do that kind of stuff. I don't think I'm going to do that very much because it feels like shilling, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Once again, thank you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.